Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. New Canadian guidelines say that no amount of alcohol is safe and people should limit their drinking to less than 2 drinks per week. I'm here with Dr. Shabir. We're going to explore those guidelines and see how they align with Islamic teachings. Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
Now, there was a new report released, and there are new Canadian guidelines on drinking, which are drastically different from the old guidelines, Dr. Shabir. So before, Canada was saying 15 drinks per week for men and 10 drinks per week for women. And now it's completely different. It's saying there's a limit of 2 per week. And even those 2, there's some question about how safe it is.
Yeah. So what they're saying basically is that, no amount of alcohol is good for you, but up to 2, you're basically safe. From 3 to 6, you're at moderate risk of cancer and heart disease and so on. And then above 6, you're in serious risk.
Mm-hmm.
So they're putting it in this way so that they can speak to all spectrums of society, because they realize that people are not going to listen if you say, okay, maximum 2 per week. Most people are going to say, forget it. So they're saying, okay, like if you're drinking a lot, well, reduce.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can reduce down to 2 or less per week, then that's the best. But if you don't drink at all, this is the best.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And of course, as you know, Safiyyah, this is what we have been saying for a long time based on our religious
as Muslims,
teachings.
yes. Mm-hmm. Well, we've been saying don't drink at all.
At all, yeah, exactly. That's what I mean, yes.
Not even 2 drinks.
Not even 2, not even 1, not even a sip, not even a taste.
So I'm really excited about this new recommendation, Dr. Shabir, because we do have a very popular drinking culture in Canada and indeed across the Western world, right? If you're working or if you're going to university, anywhere you're going, people drink. And sometimes Muslims find it really hard to fit in that culture because they're going to work, and at the end of the day, everybody's going to the bar or the pub, and they're kind of stuck. Like, what do I do, right?
Yes.
If I don't go, I'm left out, right? So there are a lot of social risks as well with alcohol that aren't necessarily mentioned in that study, right? The things that result as domestic violence, for example, isolation, all those things, depression that result from drinking alcohol as well that aren't mentioned, but that Muslims are aware of.
Yeah, that's right. But of course, when you mention all of these other things, people might be thinking, yeah, I can avoid that. Yeah, I can get over that. But when you're thinking about cancer, you're thinking about heart disease, and you're thinking about the actual risk in terms of numbers, then people start paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
So just as we have labels on cigarette packets that warn people in advance of the dangers, it is time now for people to be aware of the dangers of drinking alcohol, dangers to their physical health. But you're quite correct, Safiyyah. All these other dangers still exist, and we're seeing them every day.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Shabir, can you speak a little bit about the Islamic rulings regarding alcohol, where they come from, and how they align with these guidelines?
Yeah, so the Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, as you know, was born in the year 570 of our common era. And at that time, in his environment in which he was born, people were very much addicted to wine, and they prized wine. In their poetry, they celebrated the virtues of wine and good wine and aged wine and all of that.
Doesn't sound that different from our times.
It looks like, yeah. So the history has come around. So the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was speaking against many social evils at the time, and this is one of the evils. And so, because people were already so steeped in it, the Muslim tradition says that it would have been counterproductive had the Quran revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, declared, suddenly a total ban on alcohol. So the Quran was revealed to the Prophet, peace be upon him, gradually over a period of 23 years. And bits and pieces of legislation would come down in the form of Quranic texts. So one text in the second chapter of the Quran, in the 219th verse, says that they ask you concerning drinking and gambling. So say in these 2 things, there is some benefit for humankind, but also much sin. and the sin is greater than the benefit. So thus God makes his revelations plain for human beings so that they may reflect. Our Muslim interpreters say that, well, this was not a total ban. It's just getting people to think about the benefit and cost ratio here and to analyze this for themselves and decide of their own not to imbibe too much alcohol. And then a later verse, which is found in the 4th chapter of the Quran, says that "La taqrabu salata wa antum sukara." Do not approach prayer when you are drunk. "Hatta ta'lamu ma taqulun," until you become aware of what you are saying. So partly people would show up drunk to the prayer. They would come to the mosque drunk. And in the prayer we have to recite passages from the Quran, and people may get it all garbled because they're not sober enough to even memorize the verses correctly and to recite them from memory. So here too, there was a further dissuasion from drinking, because when a Muslim starts to become devoted to his or her prayer, and they want to do it because they find this ecstasy in the prayer, and they want to do more and more of it, they want to come back for more. If they're being told, like, when you're drunk you can't come to the prayer, well, that will cause them to decide to be sober. Because the next prayer is going to be in a few hours. So there's no time to drink and sober up and then come to the next prayer. And then finally, in the 5th chapter of the Quran, in the 90th verse, we read, "Innamal khamru wal maisiru wal ansabu wal azlamu rijsun min amali shaytani fajtanibuhu la'allakum tuflihun." Certainly drinking and gambling and sacrificing animals on the altars, and use of the divining arrows by which people used to consult the gods in those times. All of these are filthy things from the works of the devil. So you should avoid all of this so that you may be successful. So the success that we're talking about here in terms of good health, safety from traffic accidents and all of that, that the Quran was putting it in a different way. That of course, from the Quranic perspective, it's not only the success in this world, but the success in the life hereafter as well. Right?
Dr. Shabir, these guidelines show me that the Quran has wisdom for all people, right, in all times, right? It's not just way back then, or even for Muslims, but it has wisdom for humanity. Dr. Shabir, what's your advice, given that you counsel many people, to somebody who has an addiction to alcohol and wants to stop? Let's say they're a Muslim, or they could be someone who's not Muslim.
Yeah, and here I should clarify, Safiyyah, that I'm not a licensed or trained counselor, but as an imam, faith leader, naturally I'm approached by members of the community to ask for advice on this and that. So I can give advice, but I do recommend that people visit professional counselors because they're trained for this and they will give the best advice. But very simply, from a faith leader's perspective, I can say that turn more to God, because the closer you are to God, the more distant you will find yourself from the thing. You find yourself from the things which are displeasing to God. When you're in love with God, you don't want to love the contrary. You don't want to do anything that will displease God. So drinking alcohol, if somebody's already addicted, I know it will be very difficult to break that, but there are counselors who will help you to get over that and prescribe methods for you, whether it's a 12-step program from a Muslim perspective or whatever it might be. But some of the things you can try yourself is to devote yourself to reading the Quran itself, remembering God, just to recite the names of God. And all of these will give you pleasure, give you the kind of satisfaction which perhaps you were seeking through drinking alcohol or something else.
Thank you for sharing those thoughts with us, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome. Support us today and help us share the message of Islam with people across the globe. Thank you, and may God bless you and your loved ones with the very best always.